Hello, everybody. This is Michael with LangShack here. I just wanted to make a video on talking about useless versus useful languages. Um, it, it, so, for me, a useless language is something that serves me at the time that I need it, right? For me, a useful language is not always one that that means that I study that is spoken or studied by millions and millions of people, or half a million or a billion people. That's not always a useful. That's not always what a useful language is. If I go to a country like Cape Verde, right, Portuguese might serve me very well there, right? It might be a great language to know because everybody knows it and they speak a Portuguese based Creole, so it's assumed that, virtually everybody knows Portuguese because, you know, they go to school in Portuguese and there's no resource on learning Cape Verdean Creole when there actually are a few resources, You can put things together or you can hire a teacher, which are hard to find, but I have a teacher that speaks perfect English, so if anybody wants that, just let me know in the comments below. But, you know, I think that a useless language is one that most people would think is not spoken by millions of people, or maybe it's only spoken in a certain village or a specific region. But that's not what a useless language is. A use Languages to me are never useless. They can never be useless unless they're just not. It's just the word. It's just the opposite of useful. So if a language is not useful to someone, then it's useless to them. I would say that if a language doesn't have a purpose for you in that particular moment in time, then okay, that might be useless to you. But that's not really what a language isn't really useless. So I think that people study languages for a wide variety of reasons. People, even if it's like some people learn languages, languages are considered useless because they're extinct or there are no living speakers or no living native speakers of that language. Like, for example, if you're learning Sumerian so you can read Gilgamesh, or if you're trying to learn Egyptian hieroglyphs so you can read, the gigantic corpus of work that there is done and written in Egyptian hieroglyphs, then that's useful for you. That's a language that's going to help you to get to know the ancient Egyptian culture. Or if you want to learn Cape Verdean Creole so you can speak it on the streets, and barbershops and grocery stores and bars, restaurants, and at home with a host. Like, it's virtually the native language of everybody in Cape Verde. Or if you go to Mauritius, and you speak Mauritian, or say Salois, or if you go to like Australia and you learn Walpiri before you go to Alice Springs, you can, if you talk to some Aborigine people and you start talking to them in Walpiri, they might respond to you in Walpiri. Some of them might smile at you and and respond, say hello to you in Walpiri. You never know what can happen. The possibilities are endless. And for me, studying a language, studying a language, a useful language, just any language in general, is it opens doors. It gives me a new life into the lens of a culture, right? So I just think that to say that a language is useless is not really a thing. It's not really good to say that. I think that a language can be not not particularly of use to somebody because they don't need it at that particular moment in their lives. Some people might learn a language to have an enriching experience. Some people learn languages to connect to the existing literature. Some people learn for heritage reasons. Some people learn to have better opportunities for business and jobs. You know, um, but for me, you either have a useful language, a language that is, great to have, or a language that is not particularly of use to you. Maybe it's useless to your everyday life, but it's not useless to society because when a culture dies, whenever a language dies, usually it takes the entire culture with it. That's why you see a lot of Native American tribes and Aboriginal tribes trying to reclaim the language because the language has the culture inside. The language is a vehicle through which they speak in order to, in order to recount stories and all these, their entire heritage, and they describe nature and everything, and that they communicate using that language on the land that their ancestors were on, and that's how they connect to it. But it's nothing is ever useless. Even extinct dying languages, it can tell you so much about the culture of a region, or what was in that region before it died out. So I think it's important to consider that a useful language and a useless language are not they're not really, I don't think they're appropriate terms to use for languages, because their use is in my opinion pretty relative to whoever is using it, or whoever is learning it. It doesn't make it useless. So just keep that in mind when you study a language, when anybody studies a language, that languages are just because they're useless to one person doesn't mean they're useless languages in general. That just means that they don't have that they're not of use or that somebody doesn't need to know it. Like, nobody here needs to know Pidjanchara, because it's there are no Pidjanchara people that live here. But if you're in the Australian desert, where there are 3,000 people speaking Pidjanchara in an area probably the size of a U.S. state, then yeah, it's useful in that place. But that doesn't mean it's a useless language in general. It just means that it's not. It just means you don't need it. It just means that why I don't need to know this language right now. But maybe in 10 years you might become interested in Aboriginal cultures, and you might go and learn it. So just keep that in mind whenever you're studying these languages. When you're studying any language, that you might want to know it for any number of infinite number of reasons. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments, leave them below. I'd love to have a discussion with you guys about this topic, or any language topic you have. Please interact and subscribe if you like this video. Thank you guys for watching.